Hello, welcome back. You're joining us for Eye on Africa here on France 24 with me, Jean-Emile Jamil, looking at all your latest from across the continent. And we start with these headlines. The African continent reacts to the naming of the new leader of the Catholic Church as Pope Leo XIV begins his papacy. But a number of challenges remain, including uniting a fractured church and consolidating the work of predecessor Pope Francis with a more traditional order. We unlock the African perspective on set with Father Henry Chukwujekwu. And also coming up, we head to Uganda, where a non-profit is saving premature babies by providing donated breast milk. The initiative has overcome cultural taboos to help hundreds of infants. And now the government plans to expand the milk banks nationwide. We've had just over 1 day to digest the news. Cardinal Robert Prevost of the United States named the new Pope. Pope Leo XIV, as he will be named, now leads the Vatican and will direct the path of 1.4 billion Catholics around the globe. He faces a number of challenges too, including uniting a divided church, disputes over women in the church, the Vatican's financial woes, and the ongoing clerical child abuse scandal. Nonetheless, the response from the faithful has flooded in, including from Africa, which is currently seeing the greatest increase in Catholics from any continent.
We're excited we've got a new Pope, which means that we believe that is the direction of God. God has elected the Pope, and we are very hopeful that we'll continue in the footsteps of Pope Francis.
I hope that this new Pope we've been given will be a model pastor, and that the Holy Spirit will always be with him in his discernment and decision-making.
I am happy there's a new Pope, and I'm happy he's a younger one. We are praying that God will give him the grace to function as he should.
An African Pope was a wish, even a desire, because we've never seen one. But perhaps with the Lord, you must always go very slowly and patiently.
I could not say that we expected to have an African or Congolese Pope. For me, the most important thing is to have a father who will be for all Christians, a Pope who will be there to unify all Christians in the world.
Let's get more reaction. I'm happy to say we're joined on set by Nigerian priest here in Paris, Father Henry Chukwujekwu. Thanks so much for joining us, Father Henry.
Thank you very much.
When you first saw Pope Leo XIV come out of the doors, it was all a lot of secrecy, but finally the white smoke came and we saw Pope Leo. What was your first reaction?
Thank you very much. First of all, I have to remind our audience, I'm here as the parish priest of parish of Pierre in Diocese of Pontoise, France, but I'm from Nigeria, Diocese of Nnewi. When we got the news of the election of the new Pope, when we saw the white smoke, joy. The emotion was high because we were like, personally, I have been feeling like a child that lost his father. So immediately the white smoke came out. There was that joy of expectancy, joy of hope that my father is coming back. And when you look at the whole thing, when he came out now, he gave us that hope, the message of peace. And then choosing the name also, Leo, reminds me of so many things about having a Pope as a father. And then there is something special. Yesterday, when the election was done, was concluded, was also the day the peace accord was signed. It was 80th anniversary of the end of the Second World War. And on this day, we had a Pope and who came with the message of peace. But the joy cannot be measured.
Palpable.
Thank you.
In terms of the message and what Pope Leo can bring for the African clergy specifically, what are your hopes?
Well, my hopes are many. As an African priest, we have our joys. And we have our burden also. The church in Africa is growing, vibrant. There are youths, vocation, everything is going on with the church in Africa. But also we have our challenges, the challenges of poverty, the challenges of political instability, conflicts, and every other thing that makes sometimes the church is experiencing some difficulties. So we expect the Pope to listen to us also, to listen, to encourage, to guide us. And also, we expect the Pope, the new Pope, to help us with words of healing, because the Africa, as you already know, has that difficulties and challenges of colonialism and the neo-colonialism that is still eating deep. So we need to have our wounds healed. So we need the Pope to be a father that comes closer to us to help us to get up and follow others as it should be.
If the Pope decided to come to Africa first, out of any other continent, what kind of message do you think that would send?
Oh, if Pope comes to Africa today, already, before he became Pope, as a leader in the Augustinian order, he had already visited Africa many times. Yesterday, we have seen pictures where he visited Africa. So he knows at least what is happening in Africa. So if he comes to Africa today, first of all, we have to request also that he continues to lead a church that has the moral compass, that leads everybody. We know today in our world, the church is like the truth and we have problem with the truth and compassion. So sometimes it's like we have to adapt in order to suit certain people. So we need our Pope to take us along so that the church remains a moral guidance. And as well, in fact, to summarize it, I think a French bishop said it, that we need a Pope that will be conservative in matters of faith and morals and then doctrine, but also a Pope that will be progressive in matters of justice and charity and other social issues.
I wonder where you consolidate that with your African parish, because we had under Pope Francis informal blessings, for instance, of same-sex couples, and that was seen as very progressive. And now we're looking at Pope Leo. A lot of experts are saying that he's going to be probably carrying on a lot of the doctrine of Pope Francis, but he is a bit more measured, a little bit more moderate in terms of bringing the conservatives and the liberals to the center. Some bishops in Africa described, though, that what Pope Francis was trying was a little bit difficult to implement in terms of the church's policy and in terms of some cultural implications. Do you believe that Pope Leo will carry down the same path, or do you think he'll be able to unite both sides of the church?
I believe Pope Leo was a close collaborator of Pope Francis. When the document came out about blessing same-sex couple, of course, there was misunderstanding and misconceptions. With explanation, I think there was some level of understanding on that. I think the Pope must have seen how the church in Africa reacted, because the issue of same-sex is not yet a problem in Africa, because the civil society, the civil government does not allow. In most countries of Africa, it is a crime. So the church is not a problem for the church because we are already protected. So we have not come to that level. So we expect that the Pope now, having been the close collaborator of Pope Francis and having heard how it was reacted, further discussion in things like that, it should be taken into consideration how others will react about it. And I think, as I said in my previous intervention, that the church must remain a moral guidance, that certain things, even if the truth is difficult to be said, the church should not be afraid of saying the truth at any time, even if it is difficult to understand.
Of course, the truth coming from the church themselves. Now, I'm just going to give you a little bit of a history anecdote. Okay. There were 3 African popes in history.
Yes, Victor I,
as you say, a Berber back in 189 AD. They had Militaris, born in Roman Africa at the time. That was in 311 AD that he became pope. And Gelasius I, a North African as well, 492 AD. It's been over 1,500 years since the last African pope, even more. When will the world be ready for another African pope?
I think the world is ready for a pope from Africa. Of course, I may not say African Pope because a Pope belongs to the Universal Church. It wouldn't belong to a particular territory. So the Church is ready today for African Pope. And we are hoping that it will come even in our own time. It is true that we are not into politics of who becomes a Pope because it is God that chooses. He uses the instruments of the cardinals to choose who becomes the Pope. But an African becoming the Pope today, it brings inclusiveness. It shows that Africa has come to maturity also. It's true that as the three popes you have mentioned from North Africa, the gospel came Northern Africa early enough. In the Southern Africa, the Sub-Saharan Africa, yes, we are still young in the faith, but it is growing. And that is why you can see, even in Roman Curia, we have many people, many Africans working as in services of the dicasteries. So I think the only thing I will ask also the opportunity to be given so that many Africans will also head some of these dicasteries. Some of them already in the past headed. We have Cardinal Arinze, we had Cardinal Sarah, but today we still need that more will come up. We believe that even in our own time, we see an African who will become the Pope. I think it will develop us, it will underline the universality of the Church.
Well, Pope Leo is still very young at 69, so he will have many years indeed before we even start contemplating that again.
Well, who knows?
Father Henry Chukwujekwu, thank you so much once again for joining us here on France 24.
Thank you. It's a pleasure also coming around. Thank you very much. God bless you.
Finally, in Uganda, premature birth remains one of the leading causes of death among children under 5. But a local non-profit is transforming that reality by collecting and distributing donated breast milk to the country's most vulnerable newborns. This report by Clarisse Fortuné.
School nurse Bali Babwe cradles the baby she adopted 5 months ago. A little girl born too small, too soon. She weighed 1 kilogram and her mother had died in childbirth. But the infant was given a second chance.
How are you? In that situation, we got a company called the ATA, and they gave us blessed milk. Then I started giving the baby the blessed milk, and the baby, when gained at 1.5, we was able to be discharged from Murago Hospital to go home.
ATA, a Ugandan non-profit organization, collects, pasteurizes and delivers human milk to babies in need. Since its launch in 2021, it has delivered over 1,200 liters of milk to more than 650 babies. All donors are medically screened. Still, the idea of shared breast milk remains culturally sensitive.
It's like blood. If you have an accident and you need blood, will they transfuse you with your own blood? You get blood from another person. So if someone can get blood, which goes into your brain, which goes in everywhere, and people have accepted blood, what of breast milk, which you take and you pass out? So the main thing is proper education of the communities, and then some of these cultural barriers can be overcome.
Prematurity remains the leading cause of death for children under 5 globally, and Uganda is no exception, with a neonatal mortality rate of 19 per 1,000 live births. The Ugandan government is now taking steps to scale up the initiative with more regional human milk banks across the country. For Bali Babwe and her adopted daughter, breast milk sharing was more than a medical solution. It was a gift of survival.
Well, that's all the news here on Eye on Africa. There's more coming up on France 24. It's been a pleasure. We'll see you soon.